being recorded. So I would kind of want to jump on here to say this really quickly regarding this video that I literally just watched. Okay, so this woman is talking about the population collapse in China. Okay, and that was predicated on the one child policy and a lot of other things. Okay, it's not just the one child policy. It isn't just the one child policy. There was a time when Mao, is that what this guy's name was? Mao caused the death of 30 million people, right? 30 million people, sometime in the 90s or the 80s or something, right? And then there was a one child policy where the females were basically murdered, right? So that is what is kind of playing into the dynamic of what is saying it. But I want you to hear. So she is talking about three different situations, which that reveal China's population collapse. But that's not what this is about. This is about how she's getting wrong what is supposed to be, what the she's getting wrong what is causing this issue, right? She's getting wrong what is causing this issue. Yeah, she's getting wrong what is causing this issue. And again, it is because there is an assumption. There's an assumption that the males are human, and therefore, whatever it is that they produce is human. When that is so far from the truth, because they are not human, whatever they produce is not human. Whatever they produce is not human unless they are actually duplicating human behavior. So let's go over with the things that she's saying.
That broke him. They buy a new home, while families with second and third children get 800 and 1,000 yuan per month, respectively.
She's talking about the cash incentives, etc., that they're using to increase the, to cause an incentive in increasing the population, increasing births.
High and living expenses soaring, these subsidies mean almost nothing. Remind her to consider a second child, and that the number of children you have now affects is about a man whose last name. Why? Because the problem is people still aren't marrying and still aren't having children. Why? Because the problem isn't just financial.
Despite the cash incentives, they're not working.
It's societal and moral. Let me give you one example. This story is about a man whose last name is Zhu. Okay, so he's from Shanxi. So he's known online as Xiao Zhu. He had been dating his girlfriend for years. At age 35, that's in 2023, he finally saved 188,000 yuan for the bride's price. You know, that the money that the groom needs to give to his future parents-in-law. So he finally saved 188,000 yuan for that money after years of hard work and sacrifice. Then just before the wedding, the bride's family suddenly demanded an extra 30,000 yuan for the so-called 3 golds, meaning a gold ring, a gold necklace, and gold earrings. That broke him. His monthly income was only 4,000 yuan a month. He lived very frugally, eating like steamed buns, renting a tiny room to live in, and even borrowed 20,000 yuan from friends to reach his goal. That's how he had been living. And so when he tried to reason with his girlfriend, she said, all my girlfriends have the 3 golds. And that was it. He canceled the wedding and he walked away from the relationship altogether and from the life he'd had planned. And on social media, he wrote, if this money isn't for my wedding, what can I do with it? And he said, I want to see the world. And then so he used part of the money he saved for the wedding or for his future wife and started traveling in China, toward China. He took a time off and traveled in China. He even changed his username to traveling China with 188,000 yuan. All right, that story is heartbreaking, but it's very real. It speaks the reality of China today. And another case came from this year.
Pause. So she's saying that it speaks to why people are not having children. But that is actually not why people are having children. That is not why people are having children. The reason people are not having children is because the males have messed up humanity. They have messed up the reproductive system. They have messed up the social system. They have messed up the community system. They have messed up the education system. They have messed up the They have, they have messed up the, how the care system. They have messed up everything. They have messed up the economy. They have literally messed up every single thing. Okay, so what she described here is a system by which females are still basically being sold, right? Which again would not ever have been a thing if not for males, right? It would never have been a thing if not for males. So basically, what is going on there is just purely transactional, right? Now the problem is, if this thing was to go ahead, right? If you were to take, the way that she's talking into account, and we'll say, okay, you know what? Despite all of that, let's let this thing go ahead, right? That they forget the extra 30,000, they forget the extra 30,000, and the she just marries this man, right? Well, what's going to happen is that he is still going to conduct a transactional marriage, which means that what he is going to he is going to demand, that for my money, you're going to do this for me, you're going to do that for me, you're going to do this, you do this, which means that for what he's getting, right, he's going to say for the 188,000 that he paid is not enough, right? What he's getting is not enough. He's going to demand that for what he paid, the one, excuse me, for the 188 that he paid, what he's going to be getting out of the woman is not enough. So she's likely going to be borderline slave, an enslaved individual, right? But here's the thing. Here is the thing. Let's look at how it is occurring in the West, where there are no longer bright prices, where women are no longer being sold, right? Where women are entering into these things, of their own free will, supposedly. Yeah. The same problem, that it doesn't matter what you give these males, they're going to tell you it's not enough. When you enter into a marriage with a male, he's going to tell you, I want to get this, I want to get that, I want to get this. Even a broke male that has nothing to his name, he's going to demand, he wants this from you, he wants that from you, and if you're not this, then he doesn't want you. But if you're that, then he definitely wants you. And if you want this, then you gotta do more. And if you did that, then that's not enough, but you still gotta do more. Right? Right? This is how they behave. This is how they behave. This is why women in America have decided that they are going to start demanding money too, because males only do transactional relationships. Because males only do transactions. That is why marriage is breaking down. They want women to work on love while they demand transactions. That means it is eventually going to break down. That means it is inevitable that it breaks down. That's what's happening. And the reason that it is even structured that way, right? The reason the parents of this woman are demanding that is because the father, right? On the one side, right? It is that this system was set up because males are transactional. So they like to buy females, right? But then on the flip side is that the fathers of these women know how males are. So he cannot just settle for next to nothing for his daughters, for their daughters. So males are on the both side of it. And the reason is because males are transactional. So it's breaking down because of males, because males are transactional. No matter what happens, this marriage was going to break down. If they allow this man, this, 180th thing, right? Or it's for free, the same thing is going to happen. The women who didn't do all that, in China, they regret it. They regret it, especially that in China, excuse me, it is still far, far, far more patriarchal than in the West. They regret it because what has set up, what was set up is a system by which transactions occur. But it is a system also in which the female always loses, which means that if she doesn't play, that's when she loses the least. That is when she loses the least. And if this woman had gone ahead with this 188, right, she would have lost, even though the man had paid 188 and it sounded like it is a great deal. What he was going to put her through would have made that but a pittance. And she is getting it wrong because she is being empathetic towards the male that was going to cause such havoc in this woman's life. Not realizing that the same thing was still going to happen. The breakdown of the marriage was still going to happen anyway.
Young woman. It's not her. She was telling the story of one of her friends. She was talking about her friend's failed wedding negotiations. And she said the bride's side insists on 188,000 yuan. The groom's side offered 88. The young couple love each other dearly, but their parents refused to compromise. Both families were described as controlling and domineering. Neither young person dared to marry without approval. And so the marriage remains in question, not for lack of love, but for lack of freedom. But their parents refused to compromise. Both families were described as controlling and domineering. Neither young person dared to marry without approval. And so the marriage remains in question, not for lack of love, but for lack of freedom. So that's the real problem in China today. China has lost the moral and cultural foundation that once held families and loved ones together. Decades of community side offered 88. The young couple love each other dearly, but their parents refused to compromise. Both families were described as controlling and domineering. Neither young person dared to marry without approval. And so the marriage remains in question, not for lack of love, but for lack of freedom. So that's the real problem in China today. China has lost the moral and cultural foundation that once held families.
Is she kidding? They have never had the moral and cultural whatever that she's talking about. But it has always been patriarchal, and patriarchy has neither morality or whatever it is.
For freedom. So that's the real problem in China today. China has lost the moral and cultural foundation that once held.
No, wrong. It has never ever lost it. Let me repeat that. It has not lost it. The culture and morality have never been there. Because again, this is the default male. This is the default male biology, and that is what all these countries are running on. That is what every single country is running on. The default male biology, not the default male biology. The male biology is not the default, but we are running male biology as our default when it is not. These countries have never had morality or culture, right? Culture that that holds things together. No, that has never happened. That has never happened. What is happening is that the women are starting to wake up because they are exhausted. Because they are exhausted. They are exhausted. Finally, their biology is starting to kick in because the entire tenet of your biology is to better your survival. And that is a singular organismal biology, not a species-based biology. There is nothing in you that says, to choose your species over your organism. That does not exist. That does not exist. That is simply a lie. That is a lie that is necessary for the males to thrive amongst us. Because if we were to not choose the species and we were to choose ourselves, right? The males could never, they could never multiply to this level, to this degree. They could never get sex to this degree, right? Because if we chose ourselves, each organism is supposed to be self-contained individual. They're supposed to be a self-contained individual, which means that you are not supposed to what? Have time, space, mind, instinct, anything for anyone that doesn't benefit you, right? That is why the communal system is, it's benefiting both sides. It is set up in a way that benefits both sides, right? It's set up in a way that benefits both sides. Let me give you an example of that, okay? There is a thing that I've been saying lately, right? That I've been observing lately, where people are coming out saying, you don't owe your parents care simply because they took care of you. Let me repeat that. There's a thing that is starting to, there's a movement that is starting to grow, that you don't owe your parents care in their old age simply because they care for you in your infancy. And here's the thing, which is ridiculous, right? When I look at anyone making those statements, and they have consistently been males. They have consistently been males, right? So here's the thing. If you are going to do this thing where your parents are going to spend this, they're going to spend 20, 30 years caring for you. Yeah? And then you turn around and say, oh, go fuck off, right? Go F off. I don't have to care for you just because you care for me. Let me ask you, why would anyone do this? Why would anyone have children at all? This is the male behavior. This is how they're breaking communities, by being themselves, really. Why would any woman have a child? Why would any man invest all that money into having a child? This is madness that is this movement is creating. Let me repeat that. That movement is going to grow. That movement is going to grow, and it is going to what? Exacerbate the breaking of the community that we are seeing on a global level. It is going to exacerbate the breakdown of community, because nobody, because these are the incentives that are built in to you having children, and they are built in the way females relate to each other. They are built in the way females relate to each other. The reason a female would care for her parents, right, in their retirement age, is because of that community feeling that she has, that are built into her, that are designed into her. Now, the males do not have this, which means in them, it's not a design to what? To benefit someone else. So if your parents don't have a little benefit for you, of you caring for them, why would anyone then turn around and say, sure, I'm going to invest 30 freaking years in a child? Hell no. It isn't like, when you have no idea how powerful this thing that I'm talking about is. It is going to break it so much quicker than we ever expect. Because when people are thinking, when you're hearing that, oh, some people, they might want children, but they choose to be single, right? Once this movement really kicks off, there will be no reason for anyone whatsoever to have kids. It will dry up the savannah real quick. That is how males are breaking the human society. That is how they are breaking the human condition. By doing their by doing their demonic male behavior. And that isn't going to be different with this woman who is in love with this male, because he's going to take her on that love, and then he's going to wring out every little benefit from her. Why give it back very little? And then at the end of it, that marriage is probably going to break as well. Which means that she doesn't understand what is actually causing this. There has never been morality or culture that's holding anything together. The thing that was holding things together was women. It was women thinking that these males are their people, are their species, are their kin. That is what is holding it together. That and the force, right? The force mechanisms that are built into all these little structures in society, which is that the shame that you go through if you're a single mother and all those things, right? I mean, you know all of them. Those are the things that were holding it together. But these things break apart, right? Even though they seem like they are really strong, when push comes to shove, right? They can easily break. When you turn on things, when you turn on the pressure at just the right temperature, at just the right angle, right? It breaks apart easily because it was never real. That's what I wanted to jump on here to say. And it just really breaks my heart that she is in this space of talking about this population collapse, which is kind of being anti-establishment, kind of like how I am. Except for that, she doesn't actually understand the foundation of all of it, right? The males here are not to be pitied at all, because they are going to be part of the thing that is going to further break things. That's just how they work. That is how they're designed, and that is how they're going to operate. No matter how much you give them, it's going to result in this. It's going to result in this very problem that they're facing. If they were to do something today, if they were to do something today and to force all these women to be with these males because of male behavior still, right? The women would choose to kill themselves. And without them, the entire thing breaks apart. It breaks apart. So yeah, I just need to jump off here before it gets too long yet again. So that's it. God, I really hope everybody's getting it, because it is imperative that we all get on the same page. It is imperative that we all get on the same page. If we are to heal, it must exclude the males, period, point blank. If we are to heal, it must exclude the males. Period, point blank. There is healing can only happen without the males. No matter how good of a male that you think you have it. They're going to cause some problem downstream that you don't know, that was hidden. Because what? Because why? They're wearing a mask. And that's it. Anyway, please get in the comments, ask questions, let me know, where you're being tripped up, so that we can get to the fixing of this problem.